discussion. Who can give me at least some specific points of where we had left off about katong phonology, no? Phonology katong mga na-exercise yun inyong mga dila, no? Did you enjoy that topic? Or was it just like a boring topic kay puros lang siya about sounds? But it's important, ha? English language majors man mo, I included, as your syllable suggests, I included that kind of topic, phonology. Well, that was just an introduction. Dili pag yun tumao ang iyang pinaka main concept sa phonology. But rather, na-introduce pa lang ang sounds, na pa'y mas complicated adto ng mga sounds. Yes, good afternoon. Anyway, that was the last discussion. How about sa atong discussion nga the Old English? Ka-remember pa mo?
Yes, sir.
Old English, history Anglo-Saxon and other groups or cultural groups naka-influence sa development of English. Right? That was the whole point. But the topic today is closely related, no, to that particular session that we had. And this talks about our midterm. This is part, of our midterm, and this talks about the foreign influences. Foreign influences of or on Old English. Because evidently, there are many influences in English language overall, not just on the periods of English language, no? But sa Old English period alone, there are lots of influences because again, ang English language na-develop siya tungod sa historical events. Not just specifically in English language, but on any language, whether it be Filipino language, sa ato pod, ang historical events nga katong panakop sa una ng mga Espanyol, those colonizations, no? Sa atong panahon sa una, those influence or that influenced mainly the development of language. That's why we have the words like kutsara, ventilador, no? Tinidor. Those are the words coming from Spanish words yun siya originally. And it originated from Spain, of course. And those types of events happen in our history. It's because for some reason, no, maybe the fate dictates that will happen to our country. And tanda ka dyan para dili ka mamainitan. I think that fan will function. Ay, wala. Sige. Anyway, let's hope for the wind na lang to do its part. Yan. Better. Again, take note that historical events dictate the changes and influence the changes on language. Okay? Dili ma-develop ang language kung walay nahitabo nga pananakop. Mainly colonization plays a big part here because this influence on Old English is caused by many occupations by other people. As you can remember, sa atong first meeting, first discussion, I discussed nga ang Old English, it's been influenced by the cultural group nga, kung nakadumdum pa mo, Anglo-Saxons, other katong Vikings, specifically came from Denmark. Very good. Sa Denmark, and ang ilang specific names yun, specific name, Danes. That's it, Danes. or presently or modernly known as the Danish people. Okay? Danish people. Taga Denmark, and katong ila panakop gusto nila mo huya sa specific island, no, na presently known as United Kingdom. Oo. Kana nga ambot unsay ana nga isla, no, gusto mong yun siya sakupon. Maybe even maybe the same reason as the Philippines is having, na gana gyud siya, ano, it's rich with when it comes to natural resources. It's rich with when it comes to a lot of natural unsa pa ni reasons nganong musakop gyud ang isa ka country, and it's sometimes political, no, we are not going to tackle that. But here, foreign influences on Old English, meaning to say we are going to acknowledge the presence of other groups aside from Anglo-Saxons and Danes. Yes, ang atong focus here is to give importance on the Latin influences, the Norse influences, and more to them or more on them later. First, I just want you to get familiar with this passage here, or this content from your module. Old English, also known as Anglo-Saxon, no, kana nga period yun siya, is the earliest form of English language. Okay, it's the one firstly discussed by by me sa atong first meeting, and I didn't jump off sa Middle English because again, the first one is the Old English period. That's why it's called Old English, kay kakaan kay siya. Okay? So, it's the earliest form of the English. We are talking about the history of English language. Naghisgutaan na first and foremost yun, si Old English. Okay? Giyon sa man magpag-form sa Old English. Is it mainly sa Anglo-Saxons and sa Danes? Is it because of their activities, historically speaking? The answer is no. Okay? There are other influences of Old English. Let's begin. Latin influence. Number 1. Or the Latin language mainly or heavily influenced the Old English period. And here's why. The Latin language had a significant impact on Old English due to the influence of the Roman Empire. As you can notice, the Roman Empire was very dominant, not just in the English language, but in many things. Okay? As you also can determine the religion na nag-dominate sa atong karon, ang Roman Catholic. Okay? Part of Christianity that has dispersed in the Philippines, has brought up in the Philippines since the 1500s, pag abot ni Magellan, and nilaganap na siya sa Pilipinas. Okay? That was caused by the Roman dominance or the Roman Empire. Ang atong Catholicism, gabi yun kalaganap sa Philippines. Right? And di po nato ma-deny, we cannot deny this fact that the Latin influence caused many word changes sa Old English until now. Okay? As you can also notice sa atong dictionary, if we search the etymological meaning of that word, of a specific word, for example, no? Muana ang dictionary nga came from a Latin word. For example, let's not talk about the Latin first, but I'm just talking here the etymology or the origin of a specific word. Let's say philosophy nga word, no? Ang philosophy nagikan sa word nga philo and sophia. Greek word nga philo and sophia, meaning love of wisdom. Okay? That's the meaning of, or that's the sense of etymological meaning, or ang etymology na tagtawag sa isa ka word. Each English word came from the contribution of the different countries or different languages na bisag asa kang gikan. Latin, and sa Danes, and sa Germanic, katong Anglo-Saxons, no? Kana sila mga lingwahe, even Philippine English, naantay na-contribute, no? Sa modern nato nga times karon. Naantay na-contribute, and all of these languages, naka-contribute sa English language, and ang English language nagka-improve as time goes by. Okay? Okay, it's not a one language's job to improve, no? It's the help, excuse me, it's through the help of other languages nga nung ni-improve ang vocabulary or ang lexicon ng English language. Specifically sa Old English, dili man mahitabo nga ang Old English mo develop not because of these influences. Latin influences, again, it's the Catholicism or the Roman Empire. Yun ang nakapalikod ani. Roman Empire. Okay? Specifically in Italy, no? Sa Roma yun, ang Latin words and phrases were adopted into Old English for religious purposes. Ni kanhi si Magellan because of one of the goals ganung ni kanhi si Magellan sa Philippines is not to mention the spices, but again ganung giugbok niya ang cross dito sa Cebu, it's to disperse the religion of or the Catholic religion or the Catholic teachings, no? The Catholic doctrines. Those are one of the purposes, and especially pag di ba pag nakabantay ka mo pag if there are these people kinsay Seventh-day Adventist din do you do this activity nga magbalay-balay mo
Yes,
kanang mag home service, no? You notice this kinsay na naagihan na sa Seventh-day Adventist kada Sabado, or I did not notice them, no, recently. I don't know what happened, but the significance here is that when you try to invite others, no, that's the right word. When you try to invite others, you use language, 'di ba? For example, ako taga Manila ako, and I've been here in Surigao for just like let's say 8 months. Naay Sabadista, naay Seventh-day Adventist, and nagpalaganap sa Word of God, okay? And then nagamit og Bisaya mostly. Okay? Don't tell me nga ako as Manileño, I will not be influenced by the language. 'Di ba? I will acquire eventually the language, especially if done frequently. Pabalik-balik, no? Pabalik-balik mag-teach, pabalik-balik ako mag-use ng Bisaya, and I use even Tagalog. You see the language acquisition, ma-acquired yun ninyo. Okay? That's what happened sa Latin influences. Okay? It's because of the teachings or the Catholic teachings or Catholic doctrines na laganap ang religion, and the bonus here is ang words na takdan yun ang taga-Celts or ang taga-UK. It's because of the Latin influence. Their activity is, again, the byproduct of their activity is the language development. And specifically in Old English period, daghan kayong words ka na contribute ang Latin language sa English language. Okay? Next one is, specifically, those words or loan words na gitawag nato, mabagtan siya sa field ng law, okay? Sa law, sa government, religion, medicine, and science. Okay? Sa law, medicine, it's not very important. The idea here is what you must get, no, ang influence di ani mao gyud pinaka dako nga contribution sa Old English or sa English language gyud in general. Okay? That's the Latin influence. Sabtan. Now we move forward to Norse influence. The Norse influence or the Viking invasions before, ang ilang language pod naka-contribute, as I already discussed it to you, no? In the 9th centuries, Viking invasions brought the Old Norse language to England. Unsa man nga language, no? Such as the words nga they, he, or she, kana nga mga pronouns, no? They, the words they, he, and she. Those kinds of words, very basic in English language, only to find out na influence day siya or na contribute day siya ng Norse language. Okay? Those words helped Old English develop, and even until now, nagagamit pa nato ni, right? Gigamit pa nato ni ng mga words. He, she, it's basic word. Those are basic words. And those particular words, Old Norse had a significant impact on the English language overall, not just on the earlier part of the English language. Sa Old English, dili ka diha na nag-end ang ilang influence. Even until now, those words na ilang nagikan sa ilaha, nakatabang gihapon sa English language. Okay? Naka-contribute. It's because of the interaction of those people coming from the different historical activities. Okay? Pananakop, business-related transactions, and whatsoever. It's because of those activities nga magamit og words and then ma-familiarize ang words and then ma-adopt ang words or ma-acquire ang words. Okay? The Celtic influence is the next one. The Celtic influence is read as Celtic, it's not Celtic, or the Celtic people, or ang if you might wonder, kinsa may nag-occupy sa UK sa una if wala sila gisakop sa Vikings, wala sila gisakop sa Anglo-Saxons, and wala gyud, no? If wala tong mga historical events, if it weren't for those historical events, Celtic people will still remain Celtic people or the original people from the United Kingdom. Okay? Mao ni mga original people. And the Celtic influence, naagihapon sila. The original occupation of those people made such influence to the Old English language. Okay? For example, the words market and bargain. Take note, market and bargain. Kana mag-bargain ka ba? And let me just let you understand by reading the content here. The Celtic influence on Old English is less clear than the Latin and Norse influence. So it's less clear daw, no? It's not really clear. According to the source, it's not really clear. The influence, I'm talking about the influence, it's not really clear when you try to analyze because ang na-contribute good ng mga languages from different areas. Okay? It's not really their language na nag-dominate, but these influences na nag-dominate before. Not to mention the Germanic languages or the Danish languages nga nag-contribute sa atong English language karon. That's why we are not very certain if the UK really owns the English language. No, it's not that idea. Scratch that idea. Rather, we should think ng English language para gyud sa tanan because English language is composed of many different kinds of languages. Ang mga words nga itong gigamit kanang essay, kung magpa-essay ko ninyo, write an essay. The essay word came from French word. It's a French word. Okay? Na-develop lang siya because of the morphological and phonological processes. Natawag siyang essay sa English. Okay? And many words, not to mention the Latin words, Norse words, and Celtic words, even Philippine English, na-contribute sa English language. Therefore, English language deserves to be used by all people. Okay? It's for everybody. So, we are going to talk about only these three influences on the foreign influences of Old English language. Okay? But there are other influences also na nakapadugang sa English vocabulary. Or when we say vocabulary, the stock of words. No? Ang imong vocabulary, if it is rich, then you know a lot of words. Same thing as talking about the English vocabulary. Ang overall yun yung mga words na nasa English language. Mag-improve na, magkadugang, and then ma-credit katong mga nag-contribute kato sa mga language. Okay? Did you get my point? Okay. So, the next topic, that's mainly on the lesson 1 of the midterm, no? The foreign influences of the English or Old English language. Let's move forward to the next lesson. Now, there is this event in history, no? As I said, diba, a historical event could contribute so much to the language, any language, okay? Not just an English language, but to any kinds of languages nga ma-improve yun siya. The idea here is the language can be improved and developed because of the historical happenings that have gone from the past. Okay? So that's the idea there. Now there is this Norman conquest nga gitawag in history. Norman conquest. It happened on 1066. And you might ask me, sir, unsa may naangana nga event? What's with the said event, no? Or historical event, or a remarkable event? It is indeed a remarkable event by the reason that it is a French Revolution, no? A French Revolution or movement in the history, because there is this guy before named Napoleon Bonaparte. Familiar? Or is this the first time you hear this name? Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay? But it's read as Bonaparte. Okay? Napoleon Bonaparte. He led the French Revolution because in 1066, after those invasions from the Vikings and Danes, no? Si Napoleon Bonaparte nag-initiate pod ng revolution against, or dapat nila sakupon pod daw, ang United Kingdom. But the United Kingdom was not United Kingdom before. Okay? I'm just using the words UK or United Kingdom para mas masabtan ninyo. Okay? Gusto niya sakupon pod ang UK. That is why si Napoleon Bonaparte, Frenchman, ang French language, iyang gigamit sa pagpanakop. War lasts for like many years there. No? Samtang nagsakop sila. And then, of course, pag naadi ay giyera, no? Is if you remember the war in Marawi, no? Ang mga gipadalang mga sundalo ni President Duterte sa Armed Forces of the Philippines were from Luzon, mostly from Luzon. Okay? And I am fascinated by this story kay I have a friend of friend nga nagstorya sa experience sa Marawi or the siege of Marawi. Okay? And mga sundalo daw dito ang mga sundalo daw dito is mga Tagalog. Okay? And then naagyoy time nga naapay occupants dito, wala pag ipa-evacuate tanan. The city is still alive at that time. The city was still alive at that time, and the moment niya ang mga sundalo daw mo arrive dito, Tagalog man, mangayo daw sa ilaha og pagkaon. Okay? Mangayo daw sa ilaha og, like, they exchange their mga delatas, mga canned goods sa mga armies because magbaon daw na sila ng mga canned goods, and they come across a house in Marawi and pabayloan nila ng any ay sumul daw ang dilata. Pabayloan nilang dilata ng, let's say, chicken kung naay manok. Okay? Pabayloan na mo nig manok nay, tay, pwede. And the war is still ongoing. Nagluto-luto ang mga army dito. Kung ikaw tagbay, magkaibaon siguro ka. And the story here, or the essence of the story here, is the language. Okay? As war is ongoing, sa sige balik-balik ng mga sundalo daw dito ng mga Tagalog, na-influence ang tagbayay. What do I mean by this? The language used by those occupants or by those invaders or by those armies, not invaders but the armies, no? Tagalog language man, di ba? Sige dug Tagalog tong tagbalay dito almost na-acquire na niya ang Tagalog. Okay? Especially ang mga armies taga Luzon. And the significance here is the same when Napoleon Bonaparte and his people, his armies, led a revolution para masakupon nila ang ang UK. Okay? Lisod sa pag magyera, di ay magamit og words, no? Maybe French language or certainly French language ang gigamit yun sa pag-communicate sa pag-occupy adto nga lugar such as UK. And through that historical event, French languages or French words have been added sa English vocabulary, especially sa Old English. Kuha ang point. Okay? And those words, especially sa, di ba natudloan ta mo ng do you still remember the consonant shift sa Old English? Kadtong wala pa'y letter H sa una. Letter H did not exist before. Yes, katong father, no? Wala pa'y letter H sa Old English. But because of the consonant shift, na-add ang letter H. When you pronounce the letter P, the letter K, letter T, those sounds from those letters, if you pronounce mo na ay aspirated nga letter H, diha, or sound nga ha, K, di ba? T, okay? B, no, na-invento ang letter H na add sa alphabet. Consonant man ang letter H, consonant shift ang tawag ato. But the Napoleonic War or the Norman Conquest led to a great vowel shift na pod. Okay? Kung naay consonant shift sa Old English, naapot tayo gitawag nga great vowel shift or pag-change ng vowel sounds into what it is or what the vowel sounds are today. Okay? Now, the great vowel shift, the emergence of the great vowel shift influenced the sounds of English language. Because a, e, I, o, u before or now, it's not the same as before. Maybe, maskin mo assume kita nang walay a, e, I, o, u, it's very hard to pronounce words kung walay vowels. Right? It's very hard to pronounce words without vowels. And the lack of vowels before sa Old English period, mao na'y struggle ng mga tao. Okay? And the struggle for us is real too because we cannot understand those languages sa Old English if walay vowels. Saan man na natin pagbasa? Nga, we are so used to the kind of structure that we read today na ay vowel and consonants kompleto. Kompleto sa ikados ang atong language karon compared sa Old English. Okay? So, that was the okay. Sa English period, di ba na Old English pinaka una, the first and foremost English period. Because your course description here is History of English Language, the history of English language. From Old English, 1066 man ni nahitabo, ang pagitan ani naka-influence siya sa Old English and sa next period such as the Middle English period. Take note, the Middle English period ang na-influence ng Norman Conquest, no? Naka-influence siya both sa Old English, okay? Sa Old English and of course because this year is the time where the English language developed. Okay? From Old English, 1066 man gisakop ni Napoleon Bonaparte, nasakop pod niya ang Middle English. Okay? The Middle English period from 1066 such as the very year nga nagsakop si Napoleon Bonaparte from 1066, take note ha, Middle English period, 1066 to 1066 to 1470. Okay? That was the year or the period of Middle English. So, unsa may nga influence ng Great Vowel Shift, as you may wonder, no? Those vowel sounds na influence daw ang Old English and then the Middle English. It's kind of a developmental activity by those historical events or the specific historical event led by Napoleon Bonaparte, no? It's somewhat like a gradual process of changing the language or the words. Just like here, unsa mang yun nga part sa language or sa English language ang na-change. For example, pag abot niya ni Napoleon Bonaparte, pag sakop niya, no, it's not Magellan lang ang nakasakop sa Philippines, no, but there are other happenings outside this country nga dapat nato i-consider because you're learning English history. Okay? In phonology, in which na-learn na ninyo, the study of sounds, right? The study of sounds. Ang influence ng Norman Conquest in 1066 in Middle English period is the phonology. For example, ang words or ang sounds, the Old English nga sound, if you still remember katong kani-gani nga sound tapos i-combine ang ini. Remember okay? Just like you pronounce the word cat. Okay? Cat. Ang word. Cat. Ingana daw ang the Old English sound was replaced by a sound. Sa una, in Old English period focus on Old English period first. This vowel sound is very common. Sound, the sound. Okay, it's very common. I don't know the words that they are using, but the sound here is very common. This specific sound, the sound. Wala pa ang sound nga normal lang yun nga like the sound kana pinagahi gud nga no? Yeah. Okay? We have to encourage the change of the vowel sounds. Okay? Kay kung mag-learn pa ta og deep phonology, magkinataw anay na punta sa sounds. Okay? Na punta ani. Daghan na puntag mga sounds nga atong katawan. But that's not the focus. The focus is in phonology, yes, but on the vowel shift or the vowel change. Okay? That's one thing. And other thing here nga naka-influence phonologically speaking or not change no in phonology was the Old English sound nga SC nga sound bitaw or SC letters combined sa kanang I don't know here the example was for example when you pronounce daw the word nga should no. Ang should nga word, it's very understandable nowadays. Diba? Because English language is far more developed than it is sa Old English and Middle English. That's why di nato masabtan pag mubasa tag Old English language. Because ang digraph nga SH or ang sound, okay? Should, okay? Sheer, tapos ang shout, kanang mga words, ang sound nga sound, if you combine this two letters, S and H, it sounds as sh, right? It sounds as sh. Wala daw na sa una. Sa Old English and sa Middle English. Ingani ang sa una. Murag i-combine mo ang S and K nga sound. It's very difficult, right? It's very difficult. That's why we need to think the historical events nga nahitabo siya. Everything happens for a reason UDI, di ba? If it weren't for those historical happenings before, dili ta maglisod gyapon ta sa English nowadays. Okay, we cannot understand. It's very impossible. It's nearly impossible for us to understand the Old English. Okay, it's not our time when we use English language, when we learn English language. That's why in phonology naka-influence ang Norman Conquest, no? And in morphology. Okay? Sa morphology class, naka-influence po gihapon ang Norman Conquest. It's still part of the study of language or linguistics, and it deals with the arrangement or structure of words. Morphology, again, deals with the structure of words. The structure of words are very different sa Old English compared to what we have now sa English. Kay sa una, libog yun kaayo. Even in sounds, di ba? Kung magbasa kag sounds, di yun ka makasabot. Even kung nag-istorya lang na imong ka-istorya, and if your sitmate came from the Old English period, good luck. Di yun ka kasabot. Okay? How much more if you found a piece of writing na nakasulat sa Old English period? You can search this one out and i-try kung mabasag yun nimo. Morphologically speaking, because we are talking now about the arrangement of words or the arrangement of the structure of words. Unsa man sir di ayan sa una, sa Old English? Little example that I will give you. The Old English, the instrumental cases were replaced by the preposition to. Okay? So sa una, wala yung preposition to. Wala ni nga word. Kana nga preposition. I will go to the market. So in English period, wala may to. I will go market. I will go the market lang. It's very ungrammatical if we try to look at in the sense of the English language modernly, no? If we try to look at in the sense nga na ay language good nga developed these days, it's very unintelligible or it's quite not understandable. No? It's ungrammatical because morphology is different in Old English and in Middle English. Sabtan. Okay? That's what you need to remember. Another thing, sa morphology gihapon, aside sa wala pa maimbento ang preposition nga to sa una, it says here nga ang plural ending daw sa una, if you try to pluralize a word, for example, the word cat, no? Kaning nga word na lang, cat. Ang plural daw na suffix that you will need or you need to add in Old English and Middle English was the word or the combination of two letters A and N. Yes, A and N. So, basaha daw, plural daw ni nang miya sa una. Katan. So, pag dog, dogan. Dinuguan. Ang mga nun, pagkaon na hinuon. It's very difficult, no? You get the idea na it's very difficult for us, especially, no? Sa atong language karon nga nakasanayan, it's very difficult for us to comprehend what's stated there in morphology and in phonology. Okay? Kaya instead nga ES sa modern karon, no? Or S or ES man pag mag-add ka ng if you pluralize a word, no? Cat, cats, or ES, depending on the verbs or the words. Right? But in Old English, A and N lang yun. So imagine the difficulty for us. I don't know sa iban if they try to be amused or fascinated by the English language in the Old English period, maybe dili sila maglisod, but it's not for us. We're just here to learn how the language developed. Okay? We're not here to get stressed by the Old English structure. Dili ta mag-study ana, but we are just here to study how it developed. Okay? So, that was in the case of morphology. But next one here is through syntax. Okay? The study of the arrangement of words within a sentence. Okay? In syntax, there's also an influence, syntactically speaking, by this kind of event. Imagine, ang simple lang ng event, no? It changed a lot of structures of the English language. So imagine the influence. So I'm reflecting here that everything happens for a reason. It is because of how it beautified our language. There is a negative effect and there is a positive effect. Okay? Nawalan kang kwarta. Maybe it happened for a reason. Because it made you a better person. Di na ka maghingag sunod. That's the positive side. Diba? And the negative side is nawala yun imong kwarta. Wala na kay gasto. Same is true with this what we are talking about. Right? Nga, even though daghan nga matay sa war, I'm not suggesting that it is good. No? I'm not suggesting that it's okay. I'm not emphasizing here that it's okay to lose lives just for the development of language. What I'm saying here is it is what it was. It happened. We should accept what happened. And we just try to look at the brighter side of the event. Nga nagapoy na dulot nga something positive. Okay? Now we go now in syntax. For example, words daw, instead of using inflectional endings to indicate the subject and object of a sentence, Middle English use word order or incorrect word order, such as placing the subject before the verb. It's very complicated because if you try to, let's take note na lang with this word. The man finished the job. Itong example na ako niya sa inyo. The man finished the job. Understandable? Right? Sabtan. Diba? The man finished the job. Sa una, magkabaylo-baylo daw ang subject and predicate. Sa Middle English and Old English. The job finished the man. Kung ibaylo nimo. But remember, wala pa'y preposition sa una. It's way more complicated than we think it was. So, maybe, the syntactic arrangement, no, syntax deals with the study of how words are arranged within the sentence. Maybe karambulag yun to ang plastada sa una. That's why, because of this event, natulid or na-develop ang crooked way of using the English language. Okay? That's the influence of the syntactic influence of this event right here, the Norman Conquest. Okay? Did you get my point? Okay. Now, the French influence, mo nang akong gi-discuss, no? It's this French leader. Of course, lisod pod og French leader siya, nag-lead siya og war, lisod pod no og mogamit siya og Bisaya. No, it's not a Cebuano, it's not from Mindanao, but he's a French leader na nag-lead sa war, sa Norman Conquest nga war. Of course, ang French influence pod maapil siya sa naga-influence sa Middle English period. Okay? Sa Middle English period, the French influence were very evident. Okay? The words such as the jury, no, kanang mga words, you can search online the words coming from French, no? Coming from French language. Jury, parliament, mostly from political words. Parliament, and unsa pa man day, royalty, kana ang mga words mao na naimbento, no? It was invented, or these words are invented during this event. Sabtan. Okay? These kinds of words, and it is not just limited to these words that I am giving you as examples right now, but there are tons of words nga na-imbento or created because of the significant historical event. Okay? You need to take note of that. So, going back sa vowel shift, unsa man gyud ay ang vowel shift nga gihisgot sa Norman conquest or caused by the Norman conquest. The great vowel shift, such as in 1350, no? The great vowel shift. Great vowel shift. 1350 to 1700s. Okay? 1700s. It was a major phonological change now because phonologically, no, it deals with sounds. Di ba? Naghisgot ang vowel. We exercised our tongues in the previous meeting and nagahisgot po tag diphthongs, right? Monophthongs and triphthongs. The combinations of vowel sounds, and it's very difficult. Imagine if those vowel sounds weren't invented now. Do you think that you will understand the message that I am getting or I am saying right now? Dili. It's close to impossible because you cannot comprehend the things that I'm saying without the vowel sounds. If dili ko mo gamit og vowel sounds. Okay? Now, the great vowel shift from 1350, okay, under gihapon siya sa 1066. From 1066, this war, okay, wala siya mahitabo in just one day. Ongoing siya from 1066 and many years ahead. Wala siya mag-end in just 1 week or 2 weeks, but it lasts for years. Okay? That's why sa kadugay naka-influence na sa language. That's the idea there. This shift involved the movement of long vowels in English, which changed their pronunciation. Of course, pag walay nga sound or nga sound sa una, ang pronunciations from now, lain to sa una. Okay? There's a difference. There's a big difference. The Middle English long sound, or pag i-prolong nimo kani nga sound, okay? Far, star. Di ba? Prolonged ang vowel. Dili ka pwede mo far. Okay? It's not how it pronounced. In phonology, there is a prolonged nga sound, such as sound. Okay? In modern English, as we know of today. But in Old English and in Middle English period, ang English long sound, for example, became the modern English A. Okay? Ang common sa una, it was added on Old English. But later on Middle English, ang vowel shift na imbento pod ang sound nga E and I combined as or sounded as A. Okay? A as in stay, away, no? Kani nga sound E at I, if you combine, A ang sound. Yes, na-imbento na siya sa Middle English. And because of this event, great vowel shift. So imagine if ang stay nga word, if you have this loved one, and you want them to stay, my love, please stay. If wala tong kaning event, wala man daw ni. Kaniya man, nga sound, sta. My love, please sta. I-try na kung man sa imong kachat. Kung masabtan ba ka, i-voice message daw ni, sta, please. What? Are you referring to the pointy lights at night when the night skies are clear? Sta ba imong pasabot? Or you mean stay? Be thankful nga naani. Kaya if wala, di gyud ka masabtan. Kuha. Okay? That's the essence of the vowel shift. The vowel change. No? So, another thing. The Middle English long o nga sound, no, became the modern English ow. Okay? So, o baja o, I'm sorry. The long English or long vowel sound nga o, as in og yun, no? Kani nga sound o. Okay? O. It's very common in Middle English and in Old English period. O nga sound in vowel shift. Tungod ani nga event, na-invento daw ang words from French from French influence, such as the words from this one to forgot the symbol. Yeah. From this one, vowel shift ang nahitabo sa Norman Conquest this sound was invented. O. O. Mo siyang O and W, no? O. But in phonology, it's symbolized as this in phonology. And that's what you should refer. O from O lang sa una. Okay? So the words such as bone, stone, if wala ni nga imbento nga vowel, we will settle for this one. Stone, di ay stone. Is, oy, magamit mo din na to. Filipino accent. Di ba? Filipino accent. Stone. Oh. Imagine if there is no vowel shift before, it's very hard for us to comprehend the message. There's no communication going on, even sa modern days. Sabtan. Okay? So, we can't use certain words, we can't pronounce certain words if these vowel sounds have not introduced. If these vowel sounds were not introduced sa atoa, sa English language, especially in Middle English period, we cannot simply understand the content. Okay? We cannot simply understand each other. You cannot understand your friend. Gid ka kasabot pag walay development sa language. Again, historical events have negative sides, but there are also positive sides nga nadulot. Sabtan. Okay? The emergence of those words were mostly because of the historical events. Always remember that a historical event contributes linguistic features to a certain language. Okay? So that's the essence of the Norman Conquest. Okay. So that's pretty much for lesson 2. We're just talking about the Norman Conquest. The Norman Conquest and the Norman Conquest's influence to the Old English and to the Middle English period. Duha pa to ka periods tagistoryahan karon and that's pretty much the that's not the end of your journey in English in English 101. 101 ba no? English 101, that's not the end of the journey. Napatay modern English and contemporary English na kailangan nato. We were just talking about the Old English parang kailan lang no? Old English, history, mga naka-influence sa Old English, and now Middle English. We will continue to talk about Middle English, period. And those kinds of contributors and influence na nahatag ng historical events. That's pretty much for lesson 2. Okay, lantaw natin ang lesson 3. Because I think ang lesson 3 wala pa nako siya maklase sa akong weekdays nga klase. I still did not have any mentions about the next topic or sa Middle English. We will delve about the Middle English next meeting. Okay? So that's just for this meeting, and next week we will tackle more about the Middle English period. Sabtan si Old English.
Yes, sir.
Si Middle English ang introduction. But there's more to there's more to Middle English. We will still talk about not just the Norman conquest but other influences. Questions? None? Clarifications? Wala gyapon? Okay, if you don't have any queries, I guess this will be the wrap up, no? Hearing none and seeing none, you are now dismissed. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.